Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this edition of Good Evening, New Hampshire. It is April 2nd, 2019. Let's begin with your local news. First step arrest warrant issued for a 19-year-old in 2018 killing in Rochester. With more on that, let's go to WMUR News 9, Kristen Carosa.
Jen, we're standing just feet away from where this happened, right here on South Main Street. Rochester police have been investigating this incident since last June, and now the case is moving forward. Police do tell us on June 6th, a 24-year-old woman named Billy Ahern was shot and killed on South Main Street. The Attorney General's office has now issued an arrest warrant for this man, 19-year-old Justin Belanger, for her murder. Right now, he is in custody in Maine on unrelated charges. The Corrections Department website says he's serving time for theft by receiving stolen property and assault. New Hampshire authorities do say he will complete that sentence on Friday.
What's going to happen is that he's going to be arraigned in Maine on that warrant and then held on that warrant in Maine. At that point, it's up to Mr. Belanger, after talking with his attorney, whether or not he wants to waive extradition and come back to face the New Hampshire charges, or he could fight extradition and ultimately come back to New Hampshire and fight those charges.
Now, authorities do tell us Belanger could be back here in New Hampshire as early as next week. We're live in Rochester. Kristen Carosa, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Sununu calls on House Democrats to fund new secure psychiatric facility. Let's take a listen to this video from WMUR News 9, Adam Sexton.
GMI Asphalt is currently accepting job applications to join our team. We have an aggressive pay scale, health insurance benefits. Both men and women are urged to contact the office of GMI Asphalt or visit us on the web at gmiasphalt.com.
Governor Chris Sununu is calling on State House Democrats to restore $26 million he asked for in the state budget to build a new 60-bed secure psychiatric facility. The move would allow the state to stop housing non-criminal mentally ill patients in the prison, and the governor says it would alleviate the emergency room boarding issue that keeps some people waiting for weeks in local ERs.
This is not my plan. This was the stakeholders' plan. This was the family's plan, and this is the right plan.
House Democrats balked at the price tag and what they say is a lack of detail with this proposal. Many believe there are ways to create capacity at the state hospital less expensive than a new building.
Every year we'll have to be back looking at staffing the facility and making sure it's operating correctly. And we just didn't feel like we had that kind of information at this point.
The Disabilities Rights Center is raising concerns that a new facility with more beds will just lead to more people being institutionalized, an argument state health officials reject.
We've not scaled this facility to expand the number of people who are institutionalized. We've scaled it so we can meet the need that's there in the community and not more.
The governor believes a new secure unit is the first domino that needs to fall to enact system-wide reforms. Families who've endured ER boarding, like Deb Taylor, whose son was in the emergency room waiting for mental health care for 28 days, say the status quo is unacceptable.
I think that we need to put the money into it. We're going to pay now or we're going to pay later.
Hospitals are also calling for lawmakers to take action.
We use the term crisis. It's not a crisis. It's a disaster.
The budget is expected to move out of committee tomorrow and pass with the support of the House Democratic majority. Senate leadership hasn't exactly been eager to weigh in on this situation, saying they want to see exactly what the House sends to them before they comment. Reporting live in the newsroom, Adam Sexton, WMUR News Now.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Granite Staters warned to secure food as bears come out of hibernation. Let's take a listen to this video from WMUR News 9, Tim Callery.
For 10 years, New England homeowners have trusted Century Roofing. We get the job done right at a fair price. Call today to arrange a free estimate and to reserve a spot for your 2019 roof replacement. Century Roofing, we've got you covered.
As the weather warms up and the snow starts to melt, bears are beginning to wake from their winter slumber.
Some of the southern towns are starting to see a little bit of activity. Still quiet up north here.
Biologist Andrew Timmons is the bear project leader for New Hampshire Fish and Game. He says the animals went into their dens in poor body conditions due to unproductive natural food sources throughout 2018.
Some of the bears we handled in dens this winter were certainly lighter than what they would be on a real food abundant year.
No. Which means they'll likely have quite the appetite when they come out of hibernation.
So, bears are going to be a little leaner and a little more desperate this spring.
That's why Timmons is asking people to take precautions now.
Not have food attractants that are going to pull bears into their yards.
Some towns are even taking it a step further, passing ordinances to keep bears at bay. Littleton is the most recent. Businesses and housing complexes are required to keep all domestic and commercial garbage in a container inaccessible to wildlife at a town disposal site or in a bear-proof dumpster.
It's working great so far. Once you get those food attractants buttoned up and inaccessible to bears move on.
And now anyone who does not follow this ordinance, the town says they will receive some warnings at first, but that could potentially turn into fines. Reporting in Littleton, I'm Tim Callery, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Trespassing continued to be a problem at Kimball Castle during renovation, police say. Let's take a listen to this video from WMUR News 9, Andy Hirschberger.
Has an interesting past and it's looking at a bright future. But Guilford police say the Kimball Castle is causing them some trouble with people trespassing.
It's a really old castle. There's a lot of dangerous places within the castle. If kids or adults go up there just to check it out, they're very likely to get hurt, and that's one of our biggest issues, public safety.
There are holes in the floors, the railings are missing, and some of the ceilings are coming down. Still, police say people, mostly teens or people in their 20s, are breaking in. Authorities say about 24 have been arrested for trespassing in the last few months.
Now that we own it, which we've owned it since September, it's very well posted. We've got the 8-foot fence all the way around it, but people are still breaking in, and unfortunately, we are having them arrested because we don't want any more vandalism done to the property.
The castle is one of 4 buildings on the property that are being restored. It was owned by a railroad baron and abandoned in 1960. Patrick and Melissa Starkey want to turn the place into a wedding and event destination, but there's a lot of work to do. The fine for trespassing is around $600, But Patrick Starkey says it's not about the money.
We're trying to do our best to preserve this. It's something that we're investing in to bring it back to its, to its beautiful state, and it is a safety concern.
The owners say while renovation to the castle is a long-term project, they just don't want any more damage to be done. In Guilford, Andy Hirschberger, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Forest Society says it may have to demolish turn-of-century home. Let's take a listen to this video from WMUR News 9, Jennifer Crompton.
Granite Bike Shop is New England's largest bicycle store. April 4th through the 15th, we are celebrating our 100th anniversary with store-wide savings on bicycles and accessories. Over 3,000 bicycles ready to roll. We guarantee you smiles for miles. Granite Bike Shop, the right bike, the right fit, right now.
Creek Farms Woods and Waterfront in Portsmouth are open to the public to hike, picnic, and kayak. The house at its center, built in the late 1800s as a summer cottage for Arthur Astor Carey. The entire property deeded to the Forest Society in 2000 by then-owner Lillian Billy Noel. They say to save the land, but not necessarily the house.
We have to find a tenant that's compatible with the reasons for which she gave us the property, which is the public enjoyment and public access to this 35 acres here on Sagamore Creek, who will take full financial responsibility for the building as well. And we had a 2-year window to do that.
The tenant can't use the property as a residence, has to put in $3 to $4 million to fix it up, maintain it, while the public has access to the land. The Shoals Marine Lab moved in and left over 2 years ago. The society says that legally and ethically it has to follow the donor's intentions and demolish it.
I'm not sure what the rush is. I don't understand why now.
Preservationists call Carey Cottage a treasure. They want the society to slow things down and expand their search for potential reuse.
When a building that is that important and that significant is gone, you're never going to get that back.
The Forest Society has filed for a demolition permit. Their vision is to fix up the music room for meetings, so the entire property is open for public use. The advocates call it architecturally and historically significant. They'll have a chance to speak at a public hearing that's part of the demolition permitting process. Meantime, the Forest Society says it's still talking to interested tenants. Live in Portsmouth, Jennifer Crompton, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. No kidding. A woman pulled over in Marlborough with baby goat in lap. Police in New Hampshire say they cited a driver who had a kid in her lap, the baby goat kind. Marlborough police say they pulled the woman over on April Fool's Day when they saw her using her cell phone. They soon realized that she was driving without a valid license and with the goat. Police said the driver was a 60-year-old woman from Sulliville, New Hampshire. She was released on a citation for operating without a valid license. She was also consulted about the distraction driving. Police posted the encounter on Facebook with the comment, "I wish this was another April Fool's joke, but it's not." And switching gears now, let's talk about your weather. Weather right now is clear, 44 degrees. And your weather for tonight, overcast with mixed showers possible overnight, low near 30. Tomorrow, morning clouds followed by afternoon sun, highs in the mid-50s. And for tomorrow night, fair skies, lows in the lower 30s. And switching gears now, let's go to sports.
Everyone, I'm Riley King, and welcome to this edition of Sports with Riley King. Let's begin. First up, Robert Kraft's attorneys look to block use of surveillance video. Let's take a listen to this video from WMUR News 9.
Also breaking, lawyers for Patriots owner Robert Kraft just presented their arguments on several legal issues in a Florida courtroom. A judge heard several motions, although Kraft was not required to be there. Kraft's attorneys are seeking to throw out video evidence that prosecutors say shows Kraft receiving paid sex acts at a Florida spa in January. Kraft has denied the allegations.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And the Boston Bruins are currently playing a game right now. And the score, Bruins 1 and Columbia Blue Jackets are 0. And you can watch it on NBCS and Nesson. And the Red Sox, they play tonight at 10:07 p.m. Boston Red Sox at Oakland Athletics. And you can watch that on NSCA and Nesson. And that is it for this edition of Sports with Riley King. I hope you all enjoyed this edition of Sports with Riley King, and have a wonderful night, everyone. Goodbye.
Okay, and that is your sports for this evening. And switching gears now, let's go to your arts and entertainment. Brady's tweet, no laughing matter to Patriots fan. Let's take a look at this article in Union Leader. And that does it for this edition of Good Evening New Hampshire. I hope you all enjoyed this edition of Good Evening New Hampshire, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another edition of Good Evening New Hampshire. Good night, everyone. Bye.